Item D, receive a report on proposed street rehabilitation priorities.
And I am on the right presentation now. You have a very comprehensive staff report on this subject, and also you have attached to your staff report the executive summary of the study itself. I will just take you through a very few highlight of the study. The first pavement management study was done for San Bruno in 2005. Subsequent to the development of that study on the condition of the city's pavement was a presentation by the department to the council in 2008. MTC, in my brain still MTSP and the IMCS. I just cannot get let go. MTC in 2009 hired Nichols Consultant Engineering to develop a pavement management program for all of the cities on the peninsula. This study, the update of that study was finalized in 2009 for San Bruno. In November of 2010, the recommendation of the study was presented to the infrastructure subcommittee, and based on their recommendation, I am taking this subject matter for your consideration. Our transportation system in the city of San Bruno has 54% are residential and local streets, 18% arterial streets, and 28% of our transportation system is part of a collector system. Based on the findings of the study, overall in San Bruno, the average pavement condition index is 64. Is 51% of our roads are in good condition, 20% in fair, 22% in poor, and 6% in very poor condition. What is the good news is the fact that our arterials are still in pretty reasonable shape, pretty good shape. What is the bad news that little bit over half of our streets are in a fair or poor condition. Overall, to place this number in context, how the whole region is doing, in our region, the PCI is 66 for the whole region. How is stated in MTC's regional goal for 2035 is the stated goal to get to a 75 pavement condition index. Just showing here all of the cities versus San Bruno, and as you can see, 4 cities has lower PCI than San Bruno is Woodside, Pacifica, Millbrae, and Belmont. Just this information was presented to you in the staff report, and also back a few years ago, that you really want to, the main purpose of pavement management really to invest in time in our system to minimize cost. That if you are not extending the life and not preserving the life of the pavement, then will cost the public more to basically to rebuild and to repair those roads. In the last 3 years, San Bruno invested in our pavement in our streets for in our street rehabilitation program, which basically means either preventive maintenance or preventive maintenance, rehabilitation, or reconstruction. The city invested 4.2 million, of which 1.2 million was federal fund. That really mean, in average, in the last 3 years, the city invested 1.2 million in our street rehabilitation program, and in the last 5 years, a average of $840,000 of dollar. In the study, the consultant came up with fourth possible alternative based on the survey and the existence of the condition of our pavement, with 4 alternatives: to eliminate all of the backlog for maintenance need and on our road system would mean that the city will need to invest $3.5 million on a yearly basis. In this case, by 2020, then the backlog of maintenance could be eliminated. If the city would invest $1.8 million, then by 2020, our pavement index will improve to 69. If the city will invest 1.4, which basically was the average in the last 3 years, then our pavement condition would be maintained at the same level how it is now. Will not get worse, will not get better, but will not get worse either. If the city will invest less, around 800,000, then our payment index will go down to estimated by 2022 56. Why is that alternative of 800,000 is just based on our existing financial situation in transportation. Just a brief overview, a reminder for you more than anything else, that for transportation on yearly basis, a dedicated funding for transportation is about 2.4, 2.5 million on yearly ongoing basis. If theoretically, and this will be up to you to the budget process on year-by-year basis, but theoretically cost us street maintenance is 1.2 million a year. Then if you would set aside matching fund for any available grants, 100,000, and you would invest 100,000 on ongoing basis for traffic calming project, 100,000 for sidewalk and ADA repair, and street light 200. Then you would have about 800 realistically, or around 800,000 a year for street rehabilitation.
What's street operations?
But again, these are
you?
just, doesn't mean that you cannot decrease in 1 year any allocation. It is up to you to make that final decision on each year, how much will be invested in each program.
So if I could interrupt, the big piece of the pie, streets operations, an example of what's included in that, since it's so...
Is everything, the level of maintenance, what you see now, is include traffic operations, street light operation, street maintenance, just patching and pothole repair, all of those cleaning, striping, traffic safety improvements, not improvements, but traffic maintenance item. That's is included in that 1.2 million. there are many, the consultant in the study recommended many potential options. One of the options is actually that this available, so-called available funding on a yearly basis to use as bond and to bond that dollar amount and to be able to invest more for improvement. Issue a general obligation bond, create a special assessment district, or increase sales tax. Our recommendation at this time is knowing that the financial situation and economical situation of the whole city, that you will have to assess that on ongoing basis. For this was the general program assessment for the transportation system. Specifically for 2011, is already included in our, this is phase 2 of the discussion. Phase 1 was to place this in context. Already included in our 2011 capital improvement program is the Cycle 1 federal paving project, which the department is for $570,000. The department will come back for awarding the contract for that project in a few months. Last year, the department did not implement the street rehabilitation project. Reason why is this year a higher carryover, and is around 1.3 million is available to implement in our street rehabilitation program for this year. How that selection of those streets, how was made, I will let Tina to share with you very briefly.
Good evening. Street Saver program is basically an online program, software program that's acknowledged by MTC, and it has a capability to analyze payment history data and to choose street for treatment, whether it's for maintenance or for rehabilitation work. The methodology used for street selection is to use the software-generated list as a starting point and to include our street maintenance crew's input and community concerns. Projects that are currently underway and is planned in the near future are also including the consideration in the selection process. And lastly, staff is also to conduct a visual inspection of the street to select and to determine the appropriate resurfacing type. Following this methodology and the available budget, staff developed a preliminary list of streets to receive treatment, which is an estimate of $1.3 million. 85% of this construction spending will be needed for rehabilitation work. The actual amount will be vary depending on the bidding climate. As you see, the preliminary list of streets to receive treatment includes a total of 49 streets. 24 streets in this slide is to receive preventive maintenance. Approximately about 22 are to receive rehabilitation treatment, and there are 3 additional streets that are pending based on construction bids. Staff could arrange a meeting with the subcommittee for a more detailed review of this list prior to coming back to the council for awarding the contract.
If you have any question, how Tina presented, this is a preliminary list based on information available to us, including any feedback from from the public during the last 2 years. If you have any
additional
question.
questions of staff?
Through the chair.
Michael?
I have just a couple of, if this is too detailed and you guys don't want to hear it, let me know and I could take it offline.
Let's do detail, Mike.
Okay. I was curious about what variables go into determining the index that you're using to categorize the streets. Are you like going out and counting potholes, or is this like an evaluation of the composition of the asphalt? I mean, how detailed does that get?
The survey actually is a visual survey, basically, and just surveying the damage on the the pavement surface itself. For any cracks, for any potholes, for any structural defect, what you can see on the pavement.
Okay. And in terms of, it seems like what we're targeting here is to maintain somewhere in that 60% average citywide. But what would be a minimal acceptable? I mean, at what point does it become uncomfortable to drive on or unsafe to drive on one of these roads? I mean, could we go down to 50% and still have the road be usable?
That's why is the qualifier there that what is good, fair, and poor condition, that everything which is in good condition is in good condition is still at a acceptable quality level. That's why, but you say this is also a perception issue, and that's why you compare always to other cities around you. That typically the driver doesn't see necessarily a boundary limit, and what quality pavement they see around them. That's how they will compare how the quality of the pavement is here. That's why it's so important what is that regional average. And you see that the regional average is higher than in San Bruno. Mm-hmm. And MTC set a much higher goal to really improve that quality. And it's not just a matter of perception of that quality, but it's a matter of minimizing cost. That if you will let the pavement really deteriorate to that level, you cannot really extend the life of the pavement. You can just replace. Yeah. And that's the most expensive proposition. That's really will cost in long term more the public than if you really would just extend on an ongoing basis the life of the pavement, and you would maintain at a higher pavement condition level.
And in terms of how the pavement wears out, is it mostly road, is it the traffic over the road that has a greater impact, or is it weather that would deteriorate?
There are many, many factors. And the first, the quality of the pavement from the beginning, mm-hmm. How was the subbase, how the drainage works for the road, and then what type of and what kind of use the road had, how it's maintained, how fast is repair, any damage. All of those really have a big impact. This really meant to be more a joke than anything, but it depends on how everybody really approach this. And this is a fact. It's not back a few years ago, a small city in England passed a resolution or changed their code that they will not repair their road, and the road system will be so full of potholes that they are using as traffic calming device.
The last comment or question I have is just around alternative materials. I noticed in your report that the petroleum costs drive up the price of concrete, and it's gone tenfold in the past 10 years, and that is really impacting that price. If we were to look at doing something like strictly concrete, which I understand is a viable replacement and has a longer lifespan, I imagine that could change the formula in what we're looking at here. And also possibly, and the reason I asked about the weather is if we were to use a more permeable material that would actually let water go through it, it may actually have less wear and tear due to weather and also provide some benefit to our stormwater problem that we have with too much stuff getting into the sewer.
You are making very, very valid comment. Based on the life cycle cost, always the concrete is cost more to invest on the life cycle. If you are calculating on full life cycle cost for both, then they are pretty much equal. You say lots of debate, but they are pretty much equal as overall cost. On pervious pavements, they are great, and that will be probably a few years from now, many years from now. They are great for surface management, but they are still they cost more right now still, and the technology is not that advanced. That is more on trial basis, more specific pilot projects, not full-scale implementation at this time, but that is coming.
Okay. So if when you're ready to come back with a recommendation on how we're going to fund this, I would like to see if it is comparable to use concrete on a complete life cycle basis. I would like to see that considered in what we're looking at. And again, I think because of the fact that the asphalt is tied to petroleum and that right now is a very unstable price point, I think in the long run that might be a better investment. So if it's not going to double the amount of work that you need to do to evaluate that, and hopefully this software that you're using will help you. You can use that as an input and give us another alternate
I certainly
situation.
will come back with some information on that subject.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you for the report. Look forward to you coming back and paving our streets.